This is the Bob Cordaro Show on TV.
They fought for us, now he'll fight for you. The pursuit of justice and liberty. It's the Bob Cordaro Show on TV.
And now, Bob Cordaro.
Great, good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. My name is Bob Cordaro, and this is the Bob Cordaro Show on TV. I'm a native of this region, born, raised, and returned twice. As many of you know, I do radio 5 days a week, 9 a.m. to noon on WILK, appointment radio we call it. And now we do this thing, the Bob Cordaro Show on TV, each and every week at 11:30 a.m. here on WNEP TV 16. This show is devoted to the greatness of our area, northeastern and central Pennsylvania. So we accentuate the positive, talking to people who make this area great. We don't do that often enough. We're also going to talk to those who have or want connections to this area. Is it cheerleading? You bet. First, today, we're going to join by Nate Gerace, and he is one of the power people in the office of Danny Meusers here in our district. He's an outstanding young guy, mayor of Tamaqua, and he's going to be talking about what he does for Congressman Dan Meusers as we continue to go into what makes Congressman Meusers' office tick. Then our Power Brunch Player of the Week this week is Ernie Preate, former Attorney General, former District Attorney, and as you will see, someone with some incredible stories and life experiences that we could all learn from. You'll know why Ernie reached the heights he reached and why he's still with us in a pivotal role in this area today. So, with the help of God, our families, and each other, let us begin.
Congressman Dan Meusers has made his mark in Washington, D.C. and Pennsylvania as a member of the Financial Services and Small Business Committees, with offices to serve you in Tunkhannock, Bloomsbury, Hamburg, Dallas, Lebanon, Berwick, and Pottsville.
I'm joined today by Nate Gerace, and he is the district coordinator for Dan Meusers, Congressman Dan Meusers, our sponsor. And he's not only that, in charge of 5 offices that serve the 9th Congressional District, but he's the mayor of Tamaqua. And we thought it'd be great to talk to him, to introduce you to him, those of you who don't know them, more importantly, because Nate's the guy that ends up solving the problems sooner or later, right, Nate?
Yes, sir. Yeah, so it's a great honor to work for the people in the 9th Congressional District, as well as serve the people as mayor in the borough of Tamaqua. So it's been I've been with the as mayor for 6 years. Just started my 6th year, and going on 5 years with the congressman.
What made you make that leap? You're an 18-year-old kid. You're still young, but you were a kid then, and you said, I want to do something for my hometown. There's got to be like a deep-seated love for Tamaqua and, and a plan and an idea. How could I help?
Yeah, well, the first thing that comes is I hear mayor's not seeking re-election and think to myself, that's interesting. And so I started doing my research. I go, okay, what are the qualifications to run for mayor? Is something I want to do?
You're in high school.
I'm just finishing up high school. And so then I realized, this is something, and I've always been a huge cheerleader for the town. I was never big into politics, student government. But then as I started to explore the opportunities, I said, you know what? Tamaqua is a place I want to help thrive. Yeah. It's a great small community, born and raised here, mom's from here. And it's been real good to me. So as soon as I really solidified that it's something I thought I could do and be good at, I pursued it with all my energy, and it worked out for me.
And won re-election.
Won re-election, yes. I'm in my 6th year on office, 2nd term. And, we've accomplished some really great things. Tamaqua is really on the rise. If you look at all the communities in kind of northeast Pennsylvania, or even on a smaller scale, Schuylkill County, it's really had some great things coming along. You have economic development. You have a whole lot of revitalization. I mean, that's the word right there, revitalization for these communities. That's what small coal towns are all about, revitalization.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're seeing a lot of.
Well, places like Tamaqua have the greatest people who deserve better government. And that's something that I've heard from around that you're providing and helping provide in Tamaqua. But I think it's also fascinating, Nate. It's a three-way win. You're part-time mayor of Tamaqua. You can also serve a larger area and interact with a larger area, which can also help Tamaqua. And you've got your more than your foot in the door with the federal government, which is always part of so many things. And Dan Meusers wins because he's got a guy that knows the territory.
I'll tell you what, the needs that Tamaqua faces are the same needs that the 9th Congressional faces. Tamaqua is a good, ideal community for what we're seeing across everywhere because you have these small areas that have such good people, whether we're talking about farmers, small business owners.
And they want to stay.
They want to stay.
They want to stay.
They want their families to stay here. And that's one of the main priorities of what we try to provide, not only on the mayoral level, but work for Congressman Meusers is, again, revitalization, providing funds, providing grants, doing whatever we need to do to make it a better place to live and have them have the options to resources, whether it's something as simple as grocery stores, maybe a bar or restaurant, entertainment, just something that keeps people here. It's an affordable place to be. It's an exciting place to be. And, with more time that passes, there's more stuff that we get to do in our communities that really make people excited and want to stay. And that's really the goal. In
a couple of seconds we have left, you told me before we started the cameras rolling, you said, I love this job.
This job has been
working for Dan Meusers.
It's been the opportunity of a lifetime. The people you meet, the people I've gotten to meet as mayor, and the people that you meet across the 12 counties, and even further than that, there is no job like this in the world. You tour manufacturers, you tour small business, you're on farms. The knowledge that you get, the people you get to meet, the problems that you get to solve, you can't put a price tag on any of that. It's an invaluable lesson that I get to learn every single day.
Nate Gerace, District Director for Congressman Dan Meusers, thank you very much.
Glad to be with you, Bob. Thank you.
This Power Brunch Player of the Week brought to you by Road Scholar Transport, a family company. If you drive for us, you're part of the family. Join Road Scholar Transport for quality environment, quality equipment, and a quality career.
Well, our Power Player of the Week this week is Ernie Preate, Ernest D. Preate Jr., former Attorney General of this great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, former District Attorney of Lackawanna County, and a practicing attorney here to this day in his 80s. Ernie, welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So, Ernie Preate, you're born in Old Forge.
1940.
Good sized family.
Yep, Preate family.
The father's a lawyer, and he gives birth to these sons. Tell us about your family.
I met and married my mother around 1939 there, and Polish-Slovak girl from West Side. Janeczek was her maiden name. So I'm half Italian, half Polish-Slovak.
Hence the campaign polka party.
There you go.
I copied off of you.
It's a great. Our area is so ethnically diverse. It's wonderful, and they had the churches were the Polish church, the Russian church, the Italian church, the Irish church, the Ukrainian church. They're all over and neighborhoods and all that. And it's why this area is so wonderful, very strong. But anyway, born and raised in Old Forge, East Morton Street, and my father was there all his life. Basically, he moved in there with my mom in 1940. I was born then. He died in 1995, and he still lived at 216 East Morton Street. And he had 4 kids. Myself was the oldest, and Dr. Don, who helped with Charlie Bannon. They founded Delta Medics, famous place around here. And now his son, Dr. Don Jr., is doing that at Lehigh Valley in Dixon City. Then my brother Bob, who was in the Marines, got out and joined my dad and myself in the private practice in 1970s in Scranton. My dad was the lawyer for the Chamber of Commerce, at the time, and one of the founders, by the way, of Montage.
Yes.
If you go over to Montage, you'll see E.D. Preate Drive. That's not me. That's the real Ernie Preate. That's senior, as they used to call him, senior. But he had an idea that they could put something on that mountain that would scrub oak, and they did. They put in a ski slope. They put in an office park. They put in they put in all kinds of facilities there, including the baseball stadium.
That's right.
That was an idea that he came up with, along with Bobby Petnato and Charlie Luger, then county commissioners, and then it flew. It just took off. And
Just as they had envisioned, by the way.
Well,
It developed just as they had envisioned.
yes, it did.
Yeah.
Yes, it did. It is now one of the key beautiful spots for residences, golf courses, shops in all of northeastern Pennsylvania. Anyway, so that's then I forgot my brother, youngest brother, Carlin, who was a CPA, and he was at Perini and Randolph. It was a big accounting firm at that time. So we're all alive except for Bob, who passed away in 2002. We are a very close family, very tight family, and we've been blessed over the years with having, personal successes. We had a good training. With my mother was Polish, and she made better Italian sauce than my aunts and uncles.
I lived that one too.
Yeah, right. But my memories of being a district attorney started when I came back from Vietnam, and
Let's touch on Vietnam.
Sure.
You didn't have to go to Vietnam. You agreed to be a combat soldier,
Well,
which you didn't have to do.
let's start with the fact that in 1965 I got out of Penn Law School out of Philadelphia. And I went to Wharton, went to Penn Law. Wow, the world's in front of me. McNamara and Johnson came down with orders saying we need more men in Vietnam. So they told the draft boards that. So the draft boards called up everybody they could find. My exemption for being a student expired in May of 65. So in October of 65, I get this draft notice says you got to report to that draft board in December. All right, because you're going to be going in the Army.
You're 25 now, though,
I'm
right?
25 years old.
You're not like a kid like
right.
a lot of the other veterans.
Exactly. So I get this draft notice, and so I shopped around of places to go, and all the officer candidates programs were filled, or I was not qualified. For example, I was wearing glasses, so I couldn't be in the Air Force. Navy, I couldn't get in. Coast Guard, I couldn't get in. Couldn't get in the Army. Oh, the Army said one thing to me. Yeah, we'll let you in, but you got to be in the Special Forces and sign up for 5 years. I said, no, thanks. So I went over to the Marine Corps. There was a guy named Gunny Ware in the post office on the second floor there in the old federal building. And he says, I want you to be a Marine. So he said, sign here. I signed up. I was sworn in down at the naval base in South Philadelphia. And I saw the captain, and he was swearing me in. And I asked him, I said, am I going to go to Vietnam? And he said, is the Pope Catholic? And so almost a year to the day, in December of 65, I was in December of 66, okay? I was on a ship out of San Diego going across the Pacific to Da Nang. And that's how I started.
But you could have gone JAG, and you went combat.
Well,
That's a pretty big deal.
Well, in those days, you could say you want to be a lawyer, but the first thing is that you're a rifleman, and you
start as a rifleman.
You got to start out here,
Yeah.
okay? And so they said, well, you'll be a lawyer someday, but now you're going to be in charge of a platoon over there of Marines, and we're going on an operation called Operation DeSoto, which was horrendous.
3 days in.
3 days, third day, we had 15 people killed right in front of me that day. I couldn't believe what was happening, and we made an assault to protect a special forces camp at Duck Bow, we didn't have any military support, artillery support, because we were just going down.
Yeah.
All we had was gunships and jets, and there was no ships on shore, no artillery. We didn't have any heavy artillery at all, which is normally what you have to soften the place up. We didn't even that because we didn't know where the enemy was. We didn't know.
Yeah.
But they knew where we were because they could see us coming in on the helicopters. And so when we landed, we spread out, and that's when we got attacked.
So this engagement lasts how many days?
Well, it was supposed to be a couple of weeks. It lasted till April 7th. We went in with 800 men. We came out with 600. I come out with 200. It was every day somebody was getting killed or wounded in front of you or side of you. And
So you see this carnage, Ernie.
yes, it did.
And how many months do you have left to serve in Vietnam after that?
I usually you get out within 12 months. So you end of January. You get out end of January of the next year, which would have been 68. So the only problem was at the end of January of 68 was Tet. And so I've got my tickets in my pocket to the free world. They're going to get a plane the next day.
And you survived it.
And yeah, so I go back to the Hill 55 where the 7th Marine headquarters was, and I was assistant in charge of operation and planning of the defense of the city of Da Nang. I mean, I've been they'd taken me out of the field and put me in because the new colonel as it come in, he didn't know what was he was still trying to get up to speed, and so he got my experience to come in and work with him, and I did, and we built up a great defense for the city of Da Nang. And the next thing you know, I come back with my tickets in my pocket, and at 5:00 in the afternoon, when we're supposed to go on armistice across Vietnam, everybody was supposed to stop shooting on both sides.
Yeah.
Guess what? 5:00, Mac v. Saigon. Mac, says a major attack is underway. Don't stop shooting. So there we were, blasting away at 5:00 in the afternoon. I'm supposed to go the next day in an airplane, and I could never leave Hill 55, which is 12 miles southwest of Da Nang, to go back to Da Nang to catch the airplane. So I stayed an extra 2 weeks. I didn't get out of there till around the February 12th or 14th. And by that time, the Tet offensive had been over, except for it was going on up in Hue, and it was going up in Khe Sanh. And so, but Da Nang was the only area that they really never broke through. Because we were really solid. We were well protected then.
Ernie, that kind of experience, staggering experience, even at 25, you're not a kid, but that's like something nobody experiences. You see that in movies, you don't live it. You come home to be a lawyer.
Right.
I would bet that pretty much everything you did, nothing would intimidate or scare you.
Never did. When I got home and Paul Mazzoni was running for DA, I helped him get elected, and he was a great DA, and so he took me on as an assistant. So I was one, and my office was right across the street from the courthouse at 507 Linden Street. So and there was no full-time DA, no full-time assistants at that time in 1970, 71. No, just think about it. No full-time. But when something needed to be done for the DA's office, who's the closest guy? Ernie Preate. He's across the street on Linden Street. So whatever it was, 10 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock, 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I had to run over. So I became sort of, even though it was part-time, almost a full-time assistant for 7 years. Then I decided to run for district attorney in 78, and I ran against Mike Egan. His father was the chief justice at the time, and he was supposed to win by a big vote. But with the help of a lot of Democrats and with a lot of people who had seen what I did as assistant district attorney, winning cases, the toughest cases, against the biggest lawyers in town. And that's how I made my reputation. And sure enough, when I got to be the district attorney, all hell broke loose. We had more serial killers. We had all kinds of things going on in the area. But the one thing I did remember, this is important. The first thing I did as district attorney was close the bars.
I remember that. And Mayor Hickey,
was
at one of the first bars you closed.
Yes,
at, too.
exactly right. Yes, he was.
That is the classic.
Yes,
Although when I was younger, I was angry at you for doing that.
And so were
I
other
might
people,
mention.
but a lot of housewives and kids were happy because they voted.
And they voted.
And so we enforced the state law, which says you close it. 2 o'clock's last call, and you close at 3. I said we're enforcing that law.
Yeah, I didn't forget about it, but that's a good. Now in BCTV Extra, we are going to talk to Ernie about some of his biggest cases as district attorney and as attorney general. You keep getting reelected, and they're throwing strong candidates after.
Oh, yes, it is.
These were not no-namers. These were not people that weren't well-financed.
Yes, that's true.
And you kept clobbering them in Democrat Lackawanna County. So when does it dawn on you that I want to run for attorney general?
About 1986, people in around the state had seen my record as a prosecutor. I had been in 19 murder cases. I had 5 death penalties. I had won all my trials. And they said, "Gee, there's this guy up in Scranton. Can we take a look at him?" So they started to have me go around the state and make speeches to different Republican organizations or whatever. I was well received. And so people said he could be our candidate. And that's what I decided to run.
Looking at this is not a political show, but looking at it politically, was it almost maybe an anecdote to Bob Casey, who was running as a Democrat at the time?
Well,
to say we got a guy from Scranton too. We got a guy.
I don't know whether anybody ever thought that way.
I'd always thought that.
But Bob Casey was a great leader in the Democratic Party and in this Commonwealth. I have to say that as a Republican, he'd probably go down as our best governor ever. Number one, he campaigned against me
every time.
Every time. He gave money. He gave speeches. He was on television commercials. And so for 3 elections as district attorney, he was opposed to me.
Yeah.
And it was well known. And remember, RTV covers 16 counties in northeastern Pennsylvania. So it's all the way out to State College and down to Schuylkill County.
We're on 32 here.
You're on 32 here. Well, that's no, you're improving. But then when I ran for attorney general, he was campaigning against me to attorney general. So I got elected attorney general. He's against me 4 straight elections. People said it's going to be a bloodbath in Harrisburg. Preate and from Scranton, Casey from Scranton. One's the governor, one's the attorney general. They're going to be fighting all the time. Didn't happen. Did not happen. And I'll tell you why. Because Bob Casey and I got together in his conference room with our staffs of great lawyers. We both had great lawyers. And we decided that, look, you can bash the hell out of me, but at the same time, I'm going into court to defend your state police for assaulting somebody, or your correction officers for assaulting somebody, your tax program because it's unconstitutional, your PennDOT that made a road faulty. I said, I got 200 lawyers in the Office of Attorney General that are fighting your side all the time. Now, if you're going into the same, you're going to be out there bashing me. What does it to say to the people who are on that jury or that judge that the Attorney General and the District Attorney and the Attorney General and the Governor aren't on the same side? So we just said, look, I'm your lawyer, you're my client. Let's keep it professional. He agreed.
And it worked.
And it worked. It worked so much, Bob, that it was around the United States, the National Association of Attorneys General said this is remarkable. So I invited him to be our principal speaker when we had our convention in Pittsburgh. Yeah. And then when we argued Planned Parenthood versus Casey, the famous abortion case, he picked me. He didn't pick his own staff. He says, I want to make this bipartisan. Okay, I want to make it bipartisan. And we had and we won. Basically, 80% of the statute was upheld.
So, Ernie,
until this past summer.
After you were attorney general, let's go back. Something more important, because this is something dear to me. You have 2 lovely daughters. You have twin daughters.
3.
And you have a third.
I have a third, Dominique.
Yes.
I was Elizabeth, Alexandra, and Dominique. Yeah, second marriage.
I said third now.
Yeah.
So you've had this great family. and this great family life,
Yes.
both extended and otherwise.
Yes.
That certainly had to give you strength through everything.
Well, my twins, Alex and Liz, they started out in 1977 going to pancake breakfast and firemen's carnivals. I mean, they got used to this immediately.
Yeah.
And so they've been involved in politics now 40 some years themselves. So and Dominique is graduating from the University of Scranton, and she's doing very well. Speaks fluent Spanish and teaches kids in Santo Domingo and in Ecuador through Zoom how to speak, because she had picked up the dialect.
Yeah.
In any event, I'm blessed with family, and I'm still practicing law in Clark Summit. Right.
How old are you now, Ernie?
I'm 82 and a half.
82 and a half.
Yeah.
So you're practicing law.
Yeah.
You're still lifting weights.
Yes, I am. Over at Brown.
You showed me a picture of you, and it was more than a bench press, by the way. It was a machine where you're taking it down from here over 200 pounds. And I'm thinking, that's a strong guy at 82. That's a strong guy at any age.
Well, yeah, I worked out Monday night. This is Wednesday, but I do a 200-pound bench press 10 times. And on the sides of me are some members of the Valley View football team who are doing 230, and they're like 60 years younger than I am. And I'm
try 70.
That's right, whatever. But the fact of the matter is that I enjoy working out. I enjoy practice of law. I enjoy doing defense work, because I did doing prosecution for 35 years. 25 years. 25 years.
So you continue to find fulfillment in personal life, in professional life. I know politically, the candidates from statewide, even national, they come and they talk to Ernie Preate and say, what should we do, General? How should we approach the campaign? How should we look at Pennsylvania? Who do we got to talk to?
Well, I've been blessed with having some insight politically because of all the campaigns I run and all the knowledge I picked up. It's the fact that I lived so long. So God thank you. But John Katz-Matidis, who owns WABC Radio in New York, and ran for mayor of New York. I go on his program on occasion. Steve Bannon has had me on occasion on his programs.
So you're the eminence Greek.
I get to talk about lots of different things, but the fact of the matter is that I still take out the garbage, I still cut the grass, I still feed the deer, I still take care of rescuing cats that come around our place out in Newton. My wife and I. So I'm well grounded.
Fantastic.
I know I'm well grounded.
Ernie Preate, we can go on forever, and we will in BCTV Extra, because there's more of your battles to talk about. We'll take this, though, as the conclusion of this program today. And thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
This Power Brunch Player of the Week brought to you by Road Scholar Transport, a family company. If you drive for us, you're part of the family. Join Road Scholar Transport for quality environment, quality equipment, and a quality career.
So we've started this thing called BCTV Extra, and it's only on YouTube. And we started it with Guy Valvano this last month. And now we're going to do it with Ernie Preate, because he's got some war stories to tell other than the war. Ernie, first of all, it's great to be with you as always. Tell me about some of your most infamous cases as district attorney. You mentioned one, maybe the most cold-blooded killer you dealt with.
Yeah, it was Nicky Carabin. I started in the DA's office as an assistant for 8 years, then got elected in 77, took office in 78. And no sooner did I get elected and take office when a string of murders started taking place in Lackawanna County that were so shocking, were serial killer oriented, that the whole community and virtually all of northeastern Pennsylvania were in great fear They were worried that there was a serial killer on the loose, and it was one after the other after the other. And so it came to me when working with the state police or the local police to solve these crimes and to then bring them to justice in the courtroom.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the days, you know, there's no cell phone cameras, there was no street corner cameras, and it was all old-fashioned shoe leather pounding by the cops and by thinking creatively, innovatively by ourselves.
You reviewed 4 people, because I remember it, but a lot of people may not.
Well,
This Nicholas Kerwin case, what did he do? And after you discovered,
okay, the Nicky Carabin was a very brilliant teacher in Abington School District, and he was divorcing his wife, and so he decided to have her killed. He's going to kill her, and we didn't know any of this was going on. This is looking backwards. As we discovered. So what he set out to do with the employment of one of his Abington High School students, Leith Howell, was to kill a number of people on or about North Main Avenue in West Side, and make it look like there was a serial killer on the loose. So when his wife was then killed, who had a beauty shop on North Main Avenue, that it would be blamed not on him, but on the serial killer.
Remarkable.
So the first person he killed was Jerry Moran. I'm sorry. The name escaped me right now, but there was a man and his wife sitting at a stoplight on Kaiser Avenue and the Expressway. And he was in ambush at the railroad tracks. You can see him over there. And he shot with the rifle, killed a man, and nearly killed a woman. That was the first murder.
Wow.
Then
the wife is still alive.
The wife is still alive, but nobody could point to who did it.
No rhyme or reason.
No rhyme or reason why this man was killed.
Because in murder cases, you always look for somebody closely associated first.
Right. And so we couldn't figure it out. Second murder took place up in on North Main Avenue, and didn't know what happened to that. Somebody was shot right near their house. It was,
A rifle again?
I don't have to, as I remember right now, I don't remember if it was a rifle or a pistol, but the third one was a fellow named Castellano, who was walking down across from Catalano's store in West Side in front of the post office that's there. And he came up to him and was walking with him, pretending to have a conversation with him about where to go, what to do. And then he pulls out a pistol and shoots him right behind the ear. And he thinks he killed him. But he didn't. The guy lived. The ball hit the rifle. The bullet hit the bone and flew out. So he survived. But he was able to tell us a little bit about who this guy was, looked like, and sounded like. And then so we started to focus on. Now we started to look at some names, and Nicky Carabin's name came up.
Do I remember composites in the newspaper?
There was some
from after that.
But the real breakthrough came when he tried to kill me. He tried to set me up, and kill me and assassinate me near the Scranton Times. He was going to lure me out to meet with me because he knew that we were closing in on him.
He wouldn't leave the Scranton Times alone to us.
So, in any event, I didn't fall for the trap, but Leith Howell decided that she'd had enough, and she came over to us and said, "I want to tell you what's going on," and that unraveled everything. And so we prosecuted him. Got him convicted of the murder, and that was a huge relief.
Mm-hmm.
But no sooner did he get convicted of that than he's sitting in Lackawanna County Jail. There's a guy named Clifford Doolittle who committed a murder of a homeless man gets into the prison. They're going to teach him how they're going to save him from the electric chair and hang him and save him from the death penalty. Ernie Preate's going to come after you, and Ernie Preate's going to do this to you, and Ernie Preate's going to do that to you. And we're going to show you what it's like to go up against Ernie Preate. And so they did. They had a mock trial with robes and everything else inside the prison. It was unbelievable. And
this is the old prison, not
it's the old prison, not the new one, right?
Sure, look, think more Shawshank Redemption.
That's exactly right.
Than a modern prison.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. So they went through the trial with them. Somebody played the judge. Somebody played the defense attorney, and somebody played Ernie Preate. And they said, all right, we find you guilty, and we're going to show you what it is to pretend like you're dying. They said, we'll string you up in a jail cell, and then we'll cut you down. They strung him up and never cut him down. He hung. Okay, so now we have a murder inside the Lackawanna County Prison. And then some of these guys who were in the prison, the rats, they came out and they said, hey, look, there's something weird going on here with this guy, Carabin. All right, so they start telling me. So we had another trial with Carabin. With this one, we moved down to Dauphin County, had the trial down there. I got a second death penalty on him down there. And then there was another murder that took place. And that was the two Ziemba kids in Old Forge.
Let me go back to Carabin for just a moment. You had a chance to confront him and talk to him directly, didn't you, at some point? Maybe you didn't.
I did not try to talk to him. He
was your perception that he was just pure evil?
Just exactly right. I mean, I did not want to have anything associated with him. I'm out to get him. Okay, I'm out to get him because he has terrorized this community unbelievably. Nicky Carabin. Yeah, now, and he's still alive, by the way, in the state prison.
Oh my God,
still alive today. We had other the way we solved the crime inside the prison was some of the prisoners were shocked by this, and so they became our witnesses.
All these names bounce back to my mind.
When you mentioned
Doolittle.
The people of today don't have any idea what fear was like as it existed in the early 80s here in Lackawanna County.
Ernie, I'm going to take one back. Were you with the district attorney's office during Freach Keene?
Yes, I was an assistant to Paul Mazzoni.
I remember
that was in the early 70s. I
remember the fear because I was their age.
Yeah,
they were two South Side kids that were kidnapped and killed
by Billy Wright.
Yeah,
and he was disgusting. He died. He got a life sentence. Paul convicted him. I was Paul's assistant on it, and he convicted him of first-degree murder. Got life in prison.
What other, as a district attorney, you were just starting to talk about the Ziemba case in Old Forge. Tell us about that one. That's another horrific crime.
Well, in between there was the Louis Caviello case from Dunmore, your buddy up there, who killed a guy over a drug deal. We didn't know how it happened. Okay,
yeah.
And eventually, a witness who was in the car with Louis when he supposedly shot him in the back of the head, we proved that he did, was a Jake Scramali. And Jake became our witness, and we convicted Louis down in Berks County.
Yeah,
Berks County. So we had the publicity was so enormous. That's why we had all these cases that were moved out of town.
Yeah,
they're just enormous publicity because there was so much fear. There was so much worry about are they ever going to be convicted? Are we ever going to be safe?
Ernie, I remember being in law school at Penn, and oddly enough, it wasn't a criminal case, but a torts class. And the professor asked if anyone knew anyone who committed a crime. And I raised my hand, and a bunch of others didn't. And they said, "Oh, I knew somebody who shoplifted and titter." And I said, "I know 4 murderers." Convicted murderers, I say, from Lackawanna County. So you're right. There was an incredible amount of activity at the time that you were district attorney.
Yeah, one of the most feared. The one that I think provoked the most fear was when two little kids got killed on Drake's Lane and Old Forge, the Ziemba kids, and nobody could find their bodies. So we had, think about this, hundreds of volunteers scouring the neighborhoods, scouring the coal dumps, the calm dumps, the woods, in two counties, looking for two bodies of two little kids. And that went on for quite some time, week or more. And every night there and every day there'd be people volunteering, coming from all over to try to find these two kids.
Did you have the killer at the time?
We had the killer. He was right next door.
But was he arrested?
He was. We didn't know him.
Okay.
We didn't know him. He was participating in the search.
Wow.
I mean, talk about, Joey Alicio. Talk about brazen. This is a guy that's out looking for the two kids he just killed. I'll never forget it. About a block from the kid's home, there was a calm bank up off of Drake's Lane. Not there anymore. And somebody was up there looking over, and they found a carpet that had been thrown away, rolled up. Somebody had the idea to unravel the carpet. And when they unraveled the carpet, there they saw brains, broken skull parts, a flip-flop. So that just broke everybody's heart. Because I knew they're dead.
Yeah.
I knew at that point they're dead.
But to see it.
To see it. Smell it. I was there with the state troopers and shaking my head. And how do you break this to the mother? The mother's in the hospital. Broken. Bishop Timlin, late Bishop Timlin, was summoned to go and break the news to her. God bless her. Wow. We were looking around. Where was this carpet from? Where could this be? We were thinking that this could have been in the Alicio house, which was in this, right next to the Ziemba house, which was then being constructed. It was not finished. Alicio's car was parked out in front of that house.
He's 16 at the time.
16, yeah. My car is parked right behind his. Literally. I didn't know who he was then. But here he was, right there fixing his car. Apparently there was a pan of oil was leaking. He was fixing his car. Then we had a witness come forward from Duryea. He says, because it was all over the paper now.
Sure.
All right. Now I saw a vehicle go up into the strippings down there near Connell's Patch, where Bobby Barron's body was just found recently. Another Old Forge.
Infamous
Old
case.
Forge murder. Yeah, so there's a guy said, I saw a vehicle go up there and bottom out as it going over the rocky road. This was a calm bank road.
Wow.
And so we're starting to think, wait a minute, this guy lives next door. And he described the vehicle. And we're looking now at this vehicle. And then we find, since we know that that's where the vehicle was, we go with the searchers, and then down in the pits, in the brush, at the bottom of this strip mine, we find the two bodies. Thrown away.
You'd already found parts.
We had found parts. Now we found the bodies. Well, you could imagine the fear that had gripped the community and gripped northeastern Pennsylvania, because now you've got two kids, 4 and 2, getting killed. All right, it was horrendous. We then got a search warrant for the house, the unfinished Alicio house. and a car. And that's when the state police crime lab people did a terrific job.
Because you're not blessed with the
No
forensic
cameras.
forensic science of today.
This is early 1980s.
Yeah.
This is 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, fingerprints were just getting, to be used.
Yeah.
And no one had DNA.
No DNA.
There was no cameras. There was no cell phone tracking you and all that stuff. None of that. All right? It was all pure shoe leather pounding.
Yeah.
And intuitive logic being
State
used.
police and local police.
State police, local police in my office. Yeah, myself. I was right involved in it, right from the start.
Yeah.
So, because it was right, it was less than a mile from my
Your
house
home.
at East Morton Street.
Yeah.
I mean, are you kidding me? I grew up there. I used to play baseball in that column dump area. In any event, we get the search warrant, and inside we clearly now know that was the house because there's blood. It was attempted to be washed off the walls, but it went down behind the baseboard. We pulled the baseboard, and there's the blood. We get a search warrant for the car. We open up the trunk of the car, and lo and behold, there's blood in the trunk of the car. And so you start matching it all up. And that's when we found out we matched the kid's blood with in the house and in the car. And we knew that he had a rifle. We seized the rifle. Shotgun blew their head up, blew their heart out. Kid was wearing a Superman shirt.
Oh, my God.
And the blast went right through the S. Defenseless. That's what we had here. And so I used to have those trials.
You tried him as an adult.
Tried him as an adult. Tried him as an adult. Yep.
And appropriately
picked the jury down in Bucks County.
Bucks County.
Brought it back up here. 6-week trial. 150 some pieces of circumstantial evidence. But I convicted him. He's still convicted and still alive in the state prison system as we speak.
Yeah, still appealing.
Still appealing. Yeah, he was caught in numerous lies and he tried to get out a year or two ago. But the fact of the matter is, it was those cases that one after the other. They had the Genova case where he was assassinated in a parking lot on North Washington Avenue, and we still haven't found the killer. I have a good idea who it is, but still never been prosecuted.
You can tell us here.
And then that's for another day. When I die, you can print the story. But there was the Pestanikas case.
Oh. That was another one. I think that's another reason they said this guy's AG material, because that was a novel legal theory. They essentially starved someone that was in their care to death. It was a neglect.
Yes, exactly. Murder or over a year.
Yeah.
They just didn't feed him, or feed him so minimally that he went from 110 pounds to 46 pounds at death. He was skin and bones.
And Ernie, none of them are easy, but that wasn't easy even from a political, social standpoint. The Pestanikas family was,
they were powerful politically.
He had a funeral home. They had a little bit of juice.
Yeah, Helen Pestanikas was a leader in the Republican Party, and she ran on the same ticket as I did when I ran for district attorney in the 1980s. And so I came up with the idea that if you violate a contract of care, you can be so egregious in that violation that the penalty isn't, pay damages, as in a contract case, but the penalty could be you get prosecuted criminally. No one ever heard of that.
Yeah.
Taking a contract violation and making it a crime.
And you had to get past that threshold.
Oh, yes, I did.
You knew they neglected him to the point he died, but you had to get past that substantial threshold.
They had agreed to take care of him. They said they did. We said they didn't. All right? And we proved that he couldn't swallow. We proved that there was nothing in his intestines, whatever. And
that the abuse was, I remember you proved that the abuse was long-standing, and his autopsy and all of that disclosed this. It was a long-standing abuse.
They just starved him to death. And one of my expert witnesses was a guy that was from the the Pope had appointed to be in charge of the starvation in Ethiopia. So he was my expert witness. I brought him up from Italy to testify. Okay, and he said this guy looked like he was in Auschwitz.
Yeah,
it was with the drama of those cases was such that, Bob, you might remember this is maybe one of the reasons that the professor asked you about it. The drama was such they didn't have any TV in the courtroom, so every seat was taken. It was standing room only.
Which you love too, though.
I was an actor. Everybody said that. I just loved that. And they would the line from the courtroom would go down the stairs out the front door to Washington Avenue to get seats to see Harold Caine, the famous defense attorney from Philadelphia, come up to defend Helen Pestanikas. It was a 6-week trial. No, it was not. It was the longest trial ever in Lackawanna County. Went from Halloween to the President's Day in February. 4 months trial.
God. Wow.
4 months trial. And we had some of the world's greatest experts. It's the first time DNA was used in a trial in America. I used DNA. Yeah. With Harold's consent, if he had objected, it would have never been used. But Harold said, let it in for what it's worth. All right. So we did. I had his experts come in from Minneapolis, and there's that famous the coroner from Long Island. I can't remember his name right off the top of my head, but he's still around, still on TV.
Not Cyril Wecht.
Cyril Wecht.
Okay.
Oh yeah, from Allegheny County.
Guy. Yeah,
he testified, and so did this other guy from. He's in the New York coroner. I can't remember the top of his head right now, but. We had some of the world's greatest experts testifying in this case. And Judge Edenharder was up here from Berks County.
Visiting judge.
Yeah, visiting judge. He loved it.
Well, as you say these names, they pop into my...
Yeah.
They pop into me, and I say, Judge Edenharder.
Yeah. He loved his cigars and cigarettes and sit back.
Didn't he used to have to take smoke breaks?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
He used to take smoke breaks in the. And
that's why one of the reasons it took so long.
Right, exactly. Well, but he thoroughly enjoyed this because he realized what was going on. That I was taking a contract violation, a contract of care, and saying not only did you violate the contract, but in the violation, you committed a crime.
Yeah.
So there's 2 levels that had to be proven. And so eventually when I became Attorney General, one of the things I did was sponsor a law. It still exists today that makes it a crime to violate a contract of care for a senior citizen. Still the law today. And that was all because of the Pestanikas.
And Harold Caine made his bones here locally with that trial, eventually moved here.
Then he became
a judge in Philly.
Philadelphia, yeah. And
I like Harold, a good guy.
It was a very famous.
Yeah, he was smooth. He was good.
Smooth, but we were great friends out of the courtroom. And when I ran for Attorney General, he's one of the first guys that told the Philadelphia lawyers, that's the guy.
Yeah.
That guy knows what he's doing in the courtroom. That's the guy for Attorney General. And that word spread.
Yeah.
And that's how Rizzo got to endorse me for Attorney General, because all the lawyers in the criminal bar and the cops in Philadelphia said, Jesus, Harold Caine, who's famous as a defense attorney down there, said this guy's good.
Yeah.
And so I wound up getting an entree into the Philadelphia the prosecutorial and defense bar, and then to Rizzo.
Ernie, tell us about him. I'm happy you touched on that subject. Tell us about Frank Rizzo, mayor, police commissioner, and mayor of Philadelphia.
Larger than life. He was a big man, 6'4", huge, and he had an entourage of people who loved him, followed him everywhere. Pictures taken, autographs. He walked down the street, and there would always be horns blowing and people shouting, and he was beloved. He was beloved in Philadelphia. He died way too young of a heart attack.
Yeah.
As he was running for office, and he would have been elected in '92, but for the fact that he died at his desk.
I think he was running as a Republican.
He was running as a Republican, and he was talking with the black ministry at the time he died in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Never forget it. Changed the whole complexion of Pennsylvania politics, because if he was alive, he would have been a power across the state. He was well known. I remember he campaigned for me, and I went up to Erie, and he came up to Erie with me, and on a plane, and there was a Democrat mayor up there. I can't remember his name. I should remember it. I didn't think I was thinking about it, but he was a big time Democrat mayor up there, and they were friends.
Yeah.
And he said, "Sit down here and do an endorsement right now of Ernie Preate." The guy did it. The guy endorsed me. So we went to Pittsburgh. All right, went to Pittsburgh, and we were going to this town, Brownsville, down in southwestern Pennsylvania. We're going to have a speech at the Italian American Club. Okay, so everybody was coming out to the Italian American area. So everybody's coming out to see Frank, and so as we were getting ready to go into the building, along comes these fire trucks, and along comes all the police, and they're blowing the whistles and the sirens and all that stuff. And there was apparently a fire down the end of the road there. And so the TV people says, I got a choice. Cover the fire or cover Frank Rizzo. No, we're going to cover Frank Rizzo.
He came to Northeast Pennsylvania.
Yes,
for
he
you as
did.
well.
He did a big fundraiser up here. And I had, of course, the Pittsburgh Steelers guys were all in. Rocky Blyer, Andy Russell. There were some really great people from the Steelers that endorsed me. And Larry Holmes came up from Easton to endorse me.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I had such great people that helped me get to be Attorney General. But I have to finish the story about Frank Rizzo.
Please.
We're getting on a plane. He didn't like to fly. He liked to travel by car, by train. That's it. We couldn't get him to fly. So we're going to the airport in Northeast Philadelphia on our trip to Erie. And we pushed him, get in. We got a nice big King Air, okay, lots of space and all that. And so as he's walking up to the plane, he's a little hesitant, and out steps this beautiful blonde out of the doorway. "Welcome, Mr. Mayor. How are you? Okay, come on, we'll take care of you." And he says, "Jesus, I didn't know I was going to have a stewardess all to myself to take care of me." And she said, "No, I'm the pilot." That's the guy.
Did you set that up?
I did. But she after that, he would go anywhere with me. I got to have her. Okay, so but anyway, those are the Rizzo stories.
Who else, Ernie, in your career? Because you were national in scope. Who else maybe impressed you the most that was in politics that you had interaction with?
Nationally?
Yeah.
You mean a presidential or
at any level? You just said, "I'm impressed with them," like Rizzo impressed you.
John Hines.
John Hines.
John was one of the wealthiest guys there was, but he also was. He could be with the wealthiest of people in the United States or the world. But he could also have pizza at Ravillo's in Old Forge, wearing a hoodie jacket, and talk to people having pizza. Absolutely a wonderful man, wonderful human being, who left us way too soon.
We were talking about him because on the anniversary of his plane crash, and I got to know him a little bit, just here and there. But so impressive. I thought he was going to be president for sure.
I think he wanted to be. I know he wanted to become governor, leave Senate, go to be governor. We had one conversation before he died in which he says, "Think about this, Ernie." He said, "Look, I run for governor. Again, I'm from Pittsburgh. You run as the lieutenant governor, and you're from Scranton." Heinz Preate. a dream ticket.
Mm-hmm.
Never materialized. Not to be.
There was another giant, and he was from this area. And I know he mentored you, and you worked with him, Bill Scranton, the ambassador, the governor.
Yes, I did. I worked for Bill Scranton when he first ran for Congress in the early 60s, and he was
1960.
90s, and I was doing driving for him. I used to drive around for him, take him from place to place and go and knock on doors. He'd be down there, and he'd say, "You go ahead and front me." So he says, "You tell the people I'm here." And so I don't have to worry about knocking on the door. They'll come. So I would go and knock on the door. I said, "Bill Scranton's right down the block." He'd come, "Oh, I'll be happy to see him," because he was a well-known name.
Yeah.
In this area. Everybody knew that he was the name that was for the city of Scranton. So the people would come out on their doorstep to say hello to Bill Scranton. He was a man of the people.
Another guy.
So
patrician, as was Hines.
That's absolutely.
But still very comfortable with everything.
He would sing, and he danced a terrific polka.
Did he?
Yes, he did. He would go to, oh my God.
Bill Scranton and the polka.
Bill Scranton and the polka, and he was a man of the people. He liked to work with people. He didn't want to have enemies. He wanted to find solutions. That's a lot of politicians did, including another guy from Scranton, Bob Casey.
Mm-hmm.
Look for ways to solve problems. But Bill Scranton was spectacular.
Yeah.
I was so blessed to know him and to have his support, and he chaired some of my campaigns. And oh my goodness, he was ambassador to the United Nations. Yeah. And one of the things he said after he examined the Israeli-Palestinian, this is the 1970s.
Yeah.
He examined, he says, we got to have a balanced approach to the Middle East. We got to work with him. We got to have a balanced approach. For that, he was shouted down. And I still think to this day, there's got to be some other answers than just throwing stones and shooting people and rockets and all that. There's got to be a way that this can be resolved. If not, we're going to be plunged into some kind of conflict down the road, not maybe in my lifetime, but in others.
Ernie, I think you were probably there. I know I was for the premiere of the documentary on Bill Scranton at the Masonic Temple. And the group of luminaries that spoke in that, from Henry Kissinger to David Rockefeller, he was literally at the highest stratas of society, not just nationally, but even internationally.
Yes. He'll always be remembered as one of the greatest leaders in Pennsylvania. Only could be served in those days. You could only serve one term.
That's right. Shame.
It's a shame because he had so much more to finish as a governor of this state, and he didn't get a chance.
I remember walking up the street with him, and we were going to lunch, and I was saying something, and I turned, and he wasn't there. He was picking up a piece of paper off the street to throw in the garbage.
That's him.
Yeah.
That was him. And he would always stop. He would never ignore people like some of these politicians. Somebody said something to him, he would have the courtesy to stop and respond. And he used to say, "Hi, boss." He never said to somebody, he always called somebody, "Well, these are my bosses."
That's right. He told me that.
You're the ordinary people. You're my boss. Yeah. And he'd always say, "Hi, boss. Hi, boss."
And he actually meant it.
And don't have those kinds of politicians anymore. None. Non-existent.
How could you? Ernie Preate, tell me, as we conclude, you sort of did it all. I mean, from combat to political combat,
courtroom,
top to bottom. And when you look back on your life, what do you think? I mean, what do you want them to think of Ernie Preate?
Well, one of the things that I'm blessed with is having a bunch of great kids. And that's your legacy, first of all, is your family. Second of all, my legacy is the people I trained in the DA's office or the Attorney General's office. I'm so proud of the fact that 4 of my assistants have become judges in the Court of Common Pleas of Lackawanna County, including Michael Gerace and Annie Jarbola, Bobby Mazzoni, and Margaret Moyle. So 4 of the 8 judges used to work for me.
Yeah.
I've lived to see them grow into be spectacular judges. The same with across the state, president judge in Chester County, the president judge in Lancaster County, the president judge in Cumberland County, all worked for me and trained under me, and maybe some other counties that I'm not remembering off the top of my head. But I love the fact that they worked for me, and even to this day, they still remember. Those were the days, Ernie. Oh, boy, did we kick ass and take names.
So, Ernie, at 82 and a half, though, you're not slowing down.
Nah.
You're not stopping. You're not saying, well, let's dial back. You got to be enjoying life.
I do. I have a little place over in Newton. I take the garbage out, cut the grass yesterday, feed the deer, feed the birds, take in rescue cats. My wife and I rescue Susan. We all
You wear your John Deere hat.
Right, John Deere hat all the time. I got a big John Deere tractor now, and a plow on it. I plow everybody's driveway in the wintertime. So I do that and work out and have still enjoy the challenge of the practice of law, and I've been blessed to have reasonably good health and still have a mind that remembers most things.
Yeah.
But I'm just very grateful to the people of this area that have been supportive of me for 50 years or more.
Yeah.
I've just been blessed, and I see them. They still remember. They still give me a hug.
Well, Ernie, I did my first interview with you at WWAX Radio in Oliphant in 1987.
Wow.
And here we are today in 2023. You're as sharp and as engaging as ever. It's just an honor to have you.
Thank you very much. God bless y'all.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. Keep up the good work, Bobby.
It's the Bob Cordaro Show on TV.